Welcome to Space and Grace, the podcast for soul-led entrepreneurs done hustling for their worth. Let's build a life and business that actually feels like freedom.
Have you ever felt frustrated by money, like no matter what you do, there's never enough? What if I told you that your money story is shaping your financial reality? Today, we're diving into how to shift from fearing money to truly loving and attracting it. Looking back, I can see that money has always flowed to me, but that's not how it felt for most of my life. Instead, I've always felt like there's never enough. I was raised by frugal parents, and I still live frugally now. I don't drive a flashy car or live in a flashy home, although I do have the most swoon-worthy ocean and forest view. But I don't wear designer clothes, I don't fly first class, I don't stay in five-star hotels, but I could. Despite the money in my bank accounts, my investment accounts, and my mortgage-free home, I still don't feel like there's enough. I really value financial security. I like knowing that if I couldn't work ever again, I'd be okay and my boys would be okay. And this means I still think really carefully about purchases, and I have to constantly remind myself that I'm safe and money loves me. And I'm not telling you this because I think that this is the best way to live. Far from it. I'm telling you this because we all have a money story, a set of beliefs around money that make us behave in certain ways. Maybe, like me, you worry that there's never enough and you're never satisfied with what you have. Maybe you have a love-hate relationship with money. Maybe you judge wealthy people and feel really envious of them. Maybe you impulsively spend even when you can't afford it. Maybe you worry that you can't help people and make money at the same time. Maybe you live on the feast or famine roller coaster. Maybe you prioritize paying everyone else before you pay yourself. We often aren't taught about managing our money, and I'm not going to speak about that in this episode. Managing money and building wealth are topics for another time. Today, I'm sharing some tips on how you can start deliberately creating your ideal money story instead of playing out the one you currently have on autopilot, the one that's sabotaging your dreams. So that not only will money start flowing to you more easily, it's going to want to stick around. Now, back to my story for a minute because you may see yourself in this story as well. I sold my first business in 2018 for more money than I'd ever seen. Now, if you've noticed that I still don't feel comfortable sharing actual numbers, trust me, I know that's something I need to work on. It all feeds back into my underlying belief that there's never enough and that I'm unworthy. And yes, I know that there is work for me to do here. To be honest, I freaked out about the money I made. And instead of celebrating it and enjoying it, I invested it. Now, yeah, that was a smart move, right? Certainly better than spending it all at once, but the vibe was really fear-based. I didn't celebrate the sale of my business, and even though I'd worked so hard for it and totally deserved it, I didn't celebrate it because I was so exhausted, and that didn't feel like a success to me. And as a result, I didn't reward myself. Instead, I worried. I worried that I would never be able to make that amount of money again. I worried about my next move. I just worried and worried and worried some more. I was fearful of the money I'd made and fearful of never being able to make money again. So what finally shifted? I started exploring ideas around money mindset and manifestation, which were concepts I used to dismiss as total bollocks. I was still married to the idea that success only comes from hard work. But then I was confused because that hard work led to exhaustion, and that didn't feel like a success despite my overflowing bank account. And crikey, if I had known about the coaching industry at this point in my life, I could have hired a coach, talked this through, and cut this downward spiral off at the kneecaps. But I didn't. And eventually, after hearing about manifesting and money mindset enough times from business mentors who I really looked up to, I decided to give it a try because what I was doing and the way I was conditioned to think about money wasn't working, and it wasn't doing me any favors. I was finally open to believing that there must be an easier way to make money. And it starts with the law of attraction, which was brought to us by Abraham Hicks. The law of attraction states, that which is like unto itself is drawn. So that's a very oldie, posh way of saying like attracts like. So let's just call it that from now on. But full credit to Abraham Hicks, so Esther and Jerry Hicks. Now, money is energy, and when your vibration is in alignment with money, it's going to flow. And this means that you can't fear money and expect it to show up. It means you can't want money and then worry about it not coming and expect it to show up. So I'd like you to imagine for a moment that money is a friend. And you say to that friend, you're invited to my party, but I'm afraid you won't show up. And if you do show up, you probably won't bring me a gift. And then I'm going to resent you for that. And then when your money friend doesn't show up to the party because it's clearly not really welcome, you hurl insults at them for being such a crappy friend. If you were money, would you have shown up for you? I wouldn't. Stop blaming others. Now, I know that there are a lot of people hurting out there right now. In Wellington, New Zealand, at the time of this recording, there are approximately 6,000 people who recently lost their jobs due to a switch in government. And that's just where I live in New Zealand. All over New Zealand, businesses are closing for myriad reasons, and people are really struggling. We do have benefits available, which is awesome, but it's not enough to thrive on. And this place, honestly, it reeks of fear. But I don't buy into worrying about economic downturns because I have proof to the contrary. I built my first business during a worldwide recession in a city where I didn't know anyone. So instead of blaming others, I encourage you to work on your thoughts and your feelings. What could you be thinking, feeling, or doing right now to put yourself in the flow of money? Could you be working on your energy, your vibration, learning new skills, honing your marketing and messaging, focusing on your health and well-being, adding more joy into your day, connecting with others, volunteering your time so that you feel satisfied at the end of the day? Whatever you can do to stop wallowing and to start feeling better, do it. Look for evidence that things can go well, even if they're not going well for you at this moment. Choose love over fear. No matter where you live and what's in your bank account, I want to offer a simple exercise that you can start doing right away. If you want money, you have to love money, even when it's not showing up in droves. You have to think good thoughts and allow those to generate good feelings about money. Appreciate what you have. Feel good. Appreciate it some more and then thank it for showing up. Do whatever you can to start feeling good, and not just about money, but about everything that's good in your life. Feel grateful for what you have, and that appreciation and gratitude is going to bring more abundance to you. Shift your focus from fear to love. And this is not one and done, trust me. When you start noticing your fearful thoughts about money, you're going to notice that they show up multiple times a day. And each time it's your job to reach for a thought that makes you feel better. As I talked about in my episode named Using Your Emotions to Get What You Want, even reaching for a feeling of relief is enough to start turning your ship around and steering it in the direction you want to go, which is always towards more money and abundance. And that's great news, right? Because it's really hard to jump from fear all the way to love. But you can ease your way into it by finding a slightly better thought and then another thought that makes you feel even better, and so on and so on and so on. Despite your current reality, you're a thought and feeling away from loving money and from therefore allowing it to flow to you with more ease. And from that state of love and gratitude, and you'll know it once you've found it, it is the most divine feeling, you can think about some actions you could take that could generate more money. For me, when I'm feeling like when I'm really in that state of love, I feel like my chest is really, really open. but when it feels really hollow, but in a really light way. But when I'm in fear, my chest is really, really constricted and my mind is racing and I'm just grasping for things that I can do, some way to action my way out of that feeling. But it's really about finding the feeling that you want and then taking action from there. I also encourage you to try not to compartmentalize money. So if it shows up in an unexpected way, appreciate it just as much as you would have if it had come in an expected way. I'll give you an example. Maybe you took a specific action which resulted in a sale. The money came to you in the expected way. But maybe you took a specific action and it didn't result in a sale, but instead you got an unexpected tax refund, or you got something half price when you were expecting to pay full price. However the money comes to you, however much it is, appreciate it. Another tip to make it easy for money to flow to you is to be focused. I realized that I haven't always made it easy for money to come to me. I've taken a really windy, unique path, and I've repeatedly chosen the more difficult one of entrepreneurship. And what I've realized is that no matter which business I've built, I've made money when I was focused on that business, when all my efforts are focused on the same outcome. But here's where things get tricky. It's whenever I'm building a new business, and maybe you can relate to this, because of course there's going to be a lag where I'm spending more money getting this business off the ground and not making enough money to call it more than an expensive hobby. Does that sound familiar? And instead of recognizing that my pivot has caused confusion for the universe, who's like, wait, what's she up to now? And instead of having full trust and belief that what I'm creating will be successful, I fall into fear about the lack of money. What if no one wants what I'm creating? What if no one buys what I'm selling? What if I'm actually really sucky at being an entrepreneur? And this fear of lack of money causes so much resistance that my vibration attracts more lack. And in these lulls, I feel terrible. My self-talk is extremely negative. I'm susceptible to any comment that makes me feel unworthy, and this throws me into a spiral of despair. And then I'm like, where's the money? Or I'll feel better once the money shows up. I spend more time worrying about the lack of money than I do focusing on the steps required to build the business. And the more I learn about the law of attraction, the more I realize how I am the only reason money stops flowing to me. My distracted and negative thoughts, and more importantly, my feelings of unworthiness and lack, are what turns the faucet off. Can you relate to this? I suspect that you probably can. So here's the big takeaway. If you want more money to flow into your life, start by shifting your thoughts and feelings about it. Money responds to love, not fear. Pay attention to your money mindset throughout the day when fear or scarcity creeps in, and actively choose a new thought that feels better. Start appreciating every dollar, big or small. And most importantly, trust that money is always available to you when you align with it. Now, I would love to help you with this. As you can tell from listening to this episode, I have my own money story that I'm constantly working on, and I believe that everybody does. But in the show notes, there's a link where you can book a call with me. Let me help you craft a new money story.